Does Novak Djokovic lose to retirement? This question has grown louder after each tournament in 2025, and now, after Wimbledon, it echoes with renewed intensity. The Serbian icon, once the immovable figure at the summit of men's tennis, now faces something even he cannot outwork: time. Nick Kyrgios, never shy with opinions, added fuel to the discussion in a recent appearance on the All on the Table podcast. Kyrgios revealed a revealing exchange he had with Djokovic at Indian Wells earlier this year. In the locker room, Kyrgios asked him directly, "Why are you here? Why are you playing?" Djokovic's response was unusually hesitant. "I don't know." According to Kyrgios, it was the first time he truly saw the 24-time Grand Slam champion as unsure, vulnerable, and perhaps tired of the grind. "That was the first time I think he misses his family a lot," Kyrgios added. "I can't see him playing for more than another year. Not again. Not the whole year again." That moment, shared in private but now public, feels even more meaningful in light of Djokovic's recent struggles. Wimbledon 2025 marked the first time since 2017 that he failed to reach the final. He came into the tournament not as a favorite because Sinner and Alcaraz have taken the world by storm. He then took a bad fall and struggled physically versus Sinner, where he was dismantled in straight sets by the Italian. The match wasn't just a defeat, it was a symbol of the new reality Djokovic faces. The level is still elite, yes, but the margins are no longer in his favor. Recovery windows are longer, the body breaks down more easily, and the same training that once yielded domination now seems to yield only survival. After that loss, Djokovic was candid. He admitted that he trained as hard as ever and stayed disciplined with his body and mind, but something had changed. The body, once a machine that obeyed every command, now rebels. "The way my body is responding is different," he said after the match, reflecting the frustration of a champion who still holds the ambition but can no longer consistently summon the tools to act on it. Against the physicality of Alcaraz or the precision and aggression of Sinner, he still plays well, but well is no longer enough. He's finding himself in matches he cannot win, even when he executes what used to be a winning formula. More telling is the drought that continues to stretch in his trophy cabinet. Djokovic has not won a title in a very long time for his standards. The aura that once intimidated opponents before a single ball was hit has dulled. The field no longer fears him the way it used to, and his body no longer gives him the margin to dominate from the baseline for hours. He has always been known for his durability, but in recent tournaments, especially Wimbledon, that resilience seems to falter under pressure. Kyrgios' observations hit harder because they're not rooted in critique, but in empathy. He acknowledged Djokovic's professionalism, his relentless standards, and his loyalty to the sport. "He is so professional," Kyrgios said. "But if I had a family like his and kids, if I was his partner, I'd be so angry." That wasn't a jab, it was a mirror being held up. Djokovic has sacrificed more than most for the game. Yet now, at 38, even he might be realizing that the cost is no longer worth the diminishing return. The telling part is not that Djokovic is losing. Even the greatest must yield eventually. It's how he's losing. With mounting physical issues, fewer flashes of brilliance, and a growing acceptance that training and effort are no longer enough to bridge the gap between him and the new generation. His loss to Sinner wasn't about rust or bad luck. It was a clear sign that the torch is no longer being passed, it's being taken. The conversation with Kyrgios at Indian Wells was short, but it speaks volumes. Djokovic's "I don't know" wasn't just about tennis. It was about legacy, family, purpose. After 2 decades of chasing records, his reasons for staying on the tour may be blurring, and while he hasn't formally announced any farewell, the writing feels increasingly etched into the wall, not by a single match, but by a slow, undeniable shift in his body, his voice, and the way the game now moves around him. This is hardly the first time Nick Kyrgios has found himself in the headlines for reasons that have little to do with his tennis. Over the years, the Australian has become just as known for his off-court antics and blunt opinions as for his moments of brilliance on it. But this week he is on a roll, and his remarks have sparked an especially fierce backlash, with many believing he crossed a line by speaking about Novak Djokovic's possible retirement, something fans and fellow players alike say is deeply personal and should be left for Djokovic to announce on his own terms. Many argued that regardless of how close Kyrgios and Djokovic may be, no one has the right to speak on behalf of a legend when it comes to something as intimate and career-defining as retirement. Djokovic, now 38, has earned the right to control his own narrative. After everything he has accomplished, from rewriting the record books to redefining longevity in tennis, he should not be forced to answer questions about his future based on someone else's podcast appearance. Djokovic deserves to go out the way he wants, not under pressure from headlines stirred up by someone else. But before the Djokovic headlines began, Kyrgios had already set off another storm, this time involving the very man who beat Djokovic at Wimbledon. Kyrgios made what many saw as a thinly veiled jab at Sinner, writing that someone who has tested positive for a banned substance shouldn't be winning Grand Slams. He also posted an asterisk on Instagram, hinting that Sinner's win should come as an asterisk. The reference was clear. Sinner earlier this year tested positive for clostebol, a banned anabolic agent. However, after a full review, an independent tribunal concluded that the substance had entered his system through a contaminated topical spray provided by a physiotherapist. He served a brief 3-month suspension, but was cleared to return to the tour and compete in all major tournaments. Kyrgios, for his part, has maintained that his concern is about the integrity of the sport. He previously called Sinner's case disgusting for tennis, and after the Wimbledon final, doubled down by suggesting that players with any doping violations, even if deemed accidental, should not be competing at the highest levels. While some agreed that doping, accidental or not, should be treated with zero tolerance, the majority of reactions to Kyrgios' comments were critical. Many saw his remarks as an attempt to stay relevant in a sport where he is no longer an active force. And even if his concerns about fairness are not entirely unfounded, the manner in which he expressed them was widely viewed as inappropriate. What makes the situation more complicated is that Kyrgios is not entirely wrong in raising concerns about the way doping cases are communicated to the public. He is also not wrong to point to the questions we are all asking ourselves about Djokovic's retirement, but again, this feels like a story that should not involve him. Many fans are fiercely loyal to Nadal, Federer, or today to Sinner and Alcaraz, or other rising stars. There is near universal respect for Djokovic and everything he's given to the game. He has been a pillar of excellence for nearly 2 decades, chasing greatness with relentless discipline and an unshakable will. His future, whether it includes another Grand Slam or a farewell tour, should be his to define. And this year, as he tries to navigate a body that no longer responds like it once did, that process is already hard enough without added noise. In the end, it's hard to escape the feeling that Nick Kyrgios is chasing the spotlight just as much as he once chased down forehands and drop shots. His recent remarks about Djokovic's potential retirement and the shadow he cast on Sinner's rise both touch on truths that many in the tennis world are quietly thinking about. Questions of longevity, recovery, fair play, and the passing of the torch. But when Kyrgios is the one to say them, it somehow always comes wrapped in controversy, provocation, or a veiled jab. His delivery often overshadows the substance, and perhaps that's the point. Kyrgios has been off the tour, barely competing, not because he lacks the skill, but because injury and disinterest have kept him away. So now, with a racket rarely in hand, he seems to be wielding words instead. He remains relevant not through results, but through commentary, even when his insights aren't baseless. The way he positions himself in the narrative feels calculated, less about tennis and more about staying part of the conversation. Whether by calling out champions or poking at rising stars, Kyrgios keeps his name alive in headlines. And as time goes on, it becomes harder to tell whether he's speaking out of genuine concern for the sport or simply because he does not want the sport to forget about him.